I slip out from the cover of the ruined buildings and return to the center of the collapse. Now that I'm not carrying Senpai around, my body feels awfully light. I could probably make it back above ground in a matter of minutes if I were to use the rubble as a foothold. But then again...
Ara, ブッシュから出てきてどうしたの？もしかして諦めちゃった？それとも命乞い？どっちにしろ、楽しいウサギ狩りはここまでかしら。
There's no way she'd ever let that happen. After cutting off any means of escape with her now assembled iron fence, the vampire alights softly on the ground. We're standing on even footing now. With my current abilities, I could cross this wasteland and reach her in about 2 seconds.
お荷物は暗がりに落としてきたのね。それでいいの。それが正解だもの。よかった。あなたにもまだ人間らしいところが残っていたのね、シキ君。
I stay on my toes and watch for an opening. The battle has already begun. As friendly as her tone is, her words still drip with bloodlust. Without taking my eyes off the vampire, I quickly take stock of my surroundings. Noelle was the only one who could keep up with me. The swarm of the dead is headed this way, but it'll probably take them a few minutes to get here. Her weapons have been driven into the earth around me at 1 meter intervals, forming a circular iron fence. The enclosed area has a diameter of about 40 meters. I could easily jump over it, but my sharpened senses are telling me that doing so would be falling for a trap. Probably something to do with sonic interference. Even if it isn't as bad as their mystic eyes, I'm sure it'd still be enough to scramble my thoughts and knock me off balance. If that happened, I'd be a sitting duck. She'd skewer my heart in an instant. There's a good chance this is the intended purpose of that weapon. Noelle's worldview is rooted in the concept of torturous confinement. Her ability, Curse, is modeled on the idea of being locked in a relatively spacious prison, only for it to gradually warp into a vision of hell. The only way to escape this circle is to eliminate its creator, Noelle.
私を殺す気になったってことよね。
From here on out, this is a fight to the death. If I make a single mistake, or luck just isn't on my side, I'll be killed. Am I afraid? Of course I am. I'm more afraid now than I ever was facing Vav. It isn't just the difference in strength that terrifies me. It's that I've seen what goes on inside her mind. I can't bring myself to truly despise her, and under normal conditions, that would spell certain defeat for me. But I can't afford to lose. I will not fall here. Noelle holds a weapon in her hand. It's one of those skewers she's been firing at me this entire time. If she wanted to, she could probably wield several at once, but the smile on her face seems to say that one is enough.
知ってるわ。キューサ猫を噛むでしょ。ああ、それはダメか。私負けちゃうもの。この場合は支柱に勝つありってやつ？まあどっちでもいいか。大事なのは生意気にも私をどうにかできると思ってるその目つきをどう教育するかなんだし。
She's coming, regardless of how our weapons stack up, or how disparate our physical abilities are. One fact remains. I can only afford to take 2 hits at most. Clenching my knife in a forward hammer grip, I shift my center of gravity backwards.
まあ体罰が妥当よね。そんなナイフでどこまで持ちこたえられるか先生が試してあげる。
And without exerting any force or leaving myself open to Noelle, I let my body teeter backwards as if I were falling over. With my body arched over backwards like a bridge, Noelle and her weapon sail right over top of me. Her skewer, which had been aimed at my heart, raises the tip of my nose instead. I can sense that her mouth is set in a grim line. The line on her bare, defenseless stomach is right in front of me. Still bent over backwards, I take aim at that line and... I was able to avoid Noelle's skewer, but I couldn't dodge her elbow. I'm sent flying head over heels before I even know exactly what hit me. Damn. How unlucky that is. I hit the ground back first, rolling a couple times to blunt the impact. I fucked up. Noelle isn't the only one that's turned into a vampire here. My own movements are faster than I'm used to, so I ended up hitting her on the shoulder instead. As a result, I only managed to graze her before ending up like this. She may be small, but she hits like a truck. I need to rethink my approach. Her weapon isn't the only thing I need to watch out for here.
すごい、またドールみたい。それともうつせみの術？違うわよね。主役は私なんだもの。せいぜい目障りなカトンボってところかしら。どっちにしろ面白い。素敵よ、しきくん。今ので当たらないのなら、次はもっと少し強く言ってあげる。
On the plus side, it seems like my opponent's in a similar position. She put all the power she had behind that assault. It was a blind charge with no thought for what might happen afterward. She wasn't even able to stop herself after I dodged it, and slammed headfirst into her own fence. She can't handle all that power properly. No, that's not it. She's just enjoying herself too much. Still, that doesn't mean this will be easy. Just being hit by her elbow is enough to shatter the bones in my right shoulder. Although, this burning pain isn't from having my shoulder pulverized, but from having it knit itself back together again. I can tell what's happening without even looking. Inside my shoulder, my muscles are latching onto the broken bones like a swarm of leeches, coiling around them, and wrenching them back into place. I need to buy some time while my shoulder heals. A few seconds is all I need.
何？私の魅力に参っちゃった？年下の先生って興奮しちゃう？
そりゃ別の意味で参ってるけど。
Dead apostles are basically an upgraded life. Those who turn into vampires often have their bodies morph into the most beautiful form they can take. They become an erotic work of art, an instrument of pleasure to which ordinary humans can't even compare. In her case, this youthful-seeming body is her most beautiful form. This immature, undeveloped version of her represents her prime. It's hard not to feel sorry for such an animal.
いや、そうじゃなくて。あんたがロアを憎む理由は分かった。でもいいのか、こんな方法で。俺を。
Roa is a reincarnating collection of information, soul. Even if she kills me, his soul won't die. In order to truly kill Roa, you need to either baptize him with the seventh scripture, or do something that ignores causality, to bestow death on him directly.
その通り。頭のいい命乞いね。確かにあなたをめちゃくちゃにしたところで、ロアには何のダメージもないわ。私の復讐は果たされない。
なら。
でもいいの、そんなの。ロアへの復讐なんて今さら何の意味もないと思わない？ロアを殺せば誰かに褒めてもらえるわけでもないんだし、そういういい子ちゃんごっこはあの女にお似合いでしょ？
I figured she'd say something like that. I realized how her mind works long ago. My right shoulder is all in order. Seems like my bones have already healed.
やだ、びっくりさせちゃった。そう、私はロアの転生体を殺したいだけ。あなたを殺して気持ちよくなりたいだけ。あの女を殺して気持ちよくなりたいだけなの。その後のことはまたその時に考えればいいと思わない？だってせっかく吸血鬼になったんだもの。後先を考えて我慢するなんて、そんなの人間らしいにも程がある。
矛盾してる。ロアを殺さないと先輩は死ねないのに。
バカじゃないの。あれは生き返るだけで死なないわけじゃないでしょ。殺せばちゃんと死ぬのよ、あの人は。だからね、ずっと殺し続けておけばいい。例えば濃硫酸のプールに浸しておくとかどう？生き返っても即死する状況にしておけば、あの子は永遠に生き返るけど生きていないことになるでしょ。
You're a sick freak, you know that? I bought more than enough time. My right shoulder is completely healed. I've got a headache, but only because I've used too much blood. I'm as calm as can be. So calm that it hasn't escaped my notice that the dead are starting to gather around the iron fence. And so, I'm able to stifle my headache and ask my final question.
ノエル先生、これがあなたとの最後の会話でしょうけど。
最後の間違いよしきくん。日本語は正しくね。
むざむざ殺される気はありません。それでもあなたが俺だけを殺すというのなら筋は通っています。
へえ、だからシエルは見逃せっていうの？本気？でも無理だから。というか四季君の命なんてどうでもいいし、先にあなたを殺しておけばあいつはもっと苦しむでしょ。わかる？あなたはただの前妻なの。私にとってメインディッシュはあの女の処刑ってまだわかんない？
そうか。
There's nothing left to discuss. I can no longer picture the poor girl who had cowered inside the church. But I can picture the reason why I could not fall here. I cast aside the last shreds of human compassion I still had in me. Gritting my teeth to distract from the pain in my temple, I attempt to make contact for the second time. She's 6 meters away. I should be able to close the distance in 2 steps. 1 step, I glance at Noel's right hand, which is poised to intercept me, and the tip of her right foot, which is firmly planted on the ground. If she was going to thrust with her right hand, she'd want to use her left foot as a pivot, but if she's using her right foot instead, then that means 2 steps, I've entered within range of the enemy. My weapon's reach is inferior to hers. If I can't slip past her opening attack, I won't get a chance to sever that squirming line. I'll stop just short of her, dodge the skewer aimed at my heart, and then...
なんて、マジで付き合ってあげると思っちゃった？
Flick. Her counterattack consists of nothing but a flick of the middle finger. It hits me squarely in the side, sending me flying all the way back to the iron fence. I slammed back first into the iron fence. I've lost all feeling where she hit me. My diaphragm is so damaged I can't even breathe. And then there's the noise. The moment I came into contact with the iron fence, I was bombarded by a noise that threatens to turn my brain to mush. When I opened my eyes, the dead have already started reaching toward me. Their groping, gasping hands rain down on where I've fallen. Without getting up, I roll away from the iron fence. Noelle must have ordered the dead to stay put, as they aren't crossing over the fence. Which means Noelle herself is probably hot on my tail. But she isn't coming after me. The vampire stands alone in the dead center of the circle, hugging her own body tightly.
これが吸血鬼の体なのね。イメージ通りに体が動いて、イメージ以上の力に満ちている。私、ずっと疑問だった。どうして吸血鬼たちはあんなに偉そうで、どいつもこいつも人間を虫けら扱いするのかって。でも、その理由が分かっちゃった。だって実際虫けらなんだもの、あなたたち。たった一度生きて、たった一度死ぬしかないなんて。 小さすぎて笑っちゃうわ。
I edge away from the iron fence and begin walking toward her. I still can't breathe properly, but it should sort itself out while I walk.
そうよ、いらっしゃい。あなたが逃げ出さない限り死者たちには手を出させない。次は指一本じゃなくてちゃんと平手打ちで真っ二つにしてあげる。この舞踏場の中でボロボロになるまで私と楽しみましょう。
I walk until I'm about as close to her as I was before, then stop. It seems like she started to take this more seriously. I give my left hand a squeeze. I still can't move my fingers yet, but the arm itself is back in action. After taking that second hit, I now have all the information I need. I click my tongue in irritation. This is bad. I could actually kill her. She must have misinterpreted my sigh as one of fear and resignation, as she kicks off the ground with an ecstatic smile on her face. Her attack consists of nothing more than a simple forward thrust of her weapon. She won't get me a third time. Even though she's moving slightly faster than before, I've already deduced what she's capable of. I bring my regenerated left arm up to meet the approaching iron skewer. It pierces my wrist. I fling my left arm to the side, then twist the skewer away before I can impale my heart. Damn, my left arm's been ripped off again. It's a small price to pay though, because right in front of me is her completely and utterly defenseless neck. I kill her, she's a nuisance, know that. What? Okay. Kill her, she's a nuisance, know that. I feel like they're... See, they've tried to do this before and succeeded. Like, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm positive. Like, it's right there. You can just do it if you just, like, put that slight bit of effort. But then, inevitably, like, choosing that kills you. So, yeah, I feel like because this is even a decision in the first place, they're trying to, like, you know, nudge you over to just do it, but then something bad will happen if you do. So, let's think for a second and see what happens. Just see what happens if we click too, you know? 'Cause if it's the one time that, yeah, kill her, she's a nuisance right there. Yeah, right? Because that's what you want, right? Yeah, let's just see where this goes. I stay the knife that's poised to reap the enemy's neck. I just let out a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity pass me by. I feel a sense of deja vu. Just like our first clash, the vampire lands a hit on me, this time with her knee, and sends me flying backwards across the wasteland. My left hand is in complete wreck. Everything below my shoulder has become some kind of bizarre mincemeat. I've lost so much blood that my vision is starting to swim. At this rate, it won't be long before I stop breathing altogether. The one saving grace is that my body temperature has already plummeted ages ago, so at least I'm not shivering from the cold. It wouldn't be far off to say I'm already a corpse in this condition. Well, it is what it is. That was my one chance to kill her, and I went into this knowing full well I'd ended up like this even if I did. After I threw away that chance, my own death was the only remaining outcome. As for the vampire, she's standing over 10 meters away, frantically probing her at her neck with her fingers. Her face frozen in fear, she checks and double-checks that her head is still on her shoulders.
今もしかしてやばかったの？
I don't have any obligation to answer her, but I know I'll never get a chance like that again.
待ってよ、待ちなさいよ、どういうこと？情けをかけやがったの？変に刺されるだけの虫のくせにこんなに強くなった私をまだ下に見るっていうの？
Still shrieking, she leaps back up to the top of the pillar, and then scowls back down at me like I'm some sort of disgusting insect.
もういい。遊びは終わりよ。そこで惨めな肉になっちゃえ。
The dead start crossing over the fence and heading my way.
ほんと今更だけど、あんたのそういうところは素直にすごいと思う。
After all, this is the perfect strategy. Anything that gets close to me runs the risk of getting killed. If she understands that now, then given her fear of death, there's no way she's going to engage me in close combat. Instead, her best options are to either pick me off from a distance, or turn this into a battle of attrition and try to overwhelm me with numbers, which is exactly what she's doing. Even though she's drunk with power, she still recognizes the limits of her own abilities. Cowardice is an important parameter when it comes to survival. The only beings that are crazy enough to fight me head-on are monsters who are already dead, ludicrous weirdos who can't die, and people who are able to overcome their own fears.
あとは俺の体力次第か。くそ、生きたもの食べられるのって痛いんだろうな。
I adjust my grip on the knife. I can't get too close to that iron fence. If I try jumping over it, I just come crashing down to the ground like a fly that got too close to a bug zapper. The dead encircling me draw closer. Now then, since I have the stamina of a vampire now, I should be able to handle the first 20 or so if I play my cards right. Beyond that though, the prospects are dim. So dim I can't even make out a future in which I get out of here alive. I wonder why I didn't finish her off back then. I don't really understand it myself. It's just, I had a feeling that I shouldn't be the one to settle things with that vampire. There's no time for regret. Besides, I can't allow myself to die in a place like this. I muster every sliver of consciousness and blood left in me, and begin cutting away at the looming wall of dead bearing down on me. I mow down dozens upon dozens of the dead. A vampire's body really is something. I couldn't breathe for a few solid minutes, but I still didn't pass out. My body is also still moving, even if not as smoothly as before. The blood I've lost is being rapidly replenished by my bone marrow. It's honestly terrifying to think that vampires have an endless supply of life force at their disposal during the night. That said, since my left arm isn't fully healed yet, and the dead keep inflicting life-threatening injuries on me with their claws, I'm losing blood about as fast, if not faster, than I'm gaining it. Still, it's thanks to that replenishment I've been able to not just stay conscious, but fight. This one makes 40. I think there's only 10 or so left. My headache isn't bothering me anymore, mostly because it's been drowned out by the feeling that my body is about to explode from all the stress I'm putting on it. But I can still do this. I can still fight. If all goes well, I'll be able to clean up the rest of the dead, and then I'll have a chance to knock that vampire right off her perch.
いい顔ね。終わりが見えてきて生き返ったって感じ？ねえ、実際あなたはすごいわ、四季君。私感動しちゃった。だからご褒美をあげる。その希望をぐちゃぐちゃに踏みつぶして思いっきり泣かせてあげるわ。
The funeral bells ring. I wonder how long I've been fighting for her at this point. Without me realizing it, the crowd of the dead surrounding the fence has grown just as large as it was when I started, if not larger.
残念だったわね、おバカさん。ここをどこだと思っていたの？ドアの地下墓地の慣れの果てよ。手足になる死者なんてそれこそ吐いて捨てるほど埋まってる。そうね、私から見てもざっと10体分ぐらいはいるんじゃないかしら。
The will to fight I had so desperately clung to begins to slip from my grasp. A whole battalion. In other words, there's over 100 of the damn things now. And that number's only going to keep going up. There's a voice in my head telling me to just give in already. The fact that I'm part vampire is honestly making this worse. See, the injuries themselves aren't exactly all that painful. It's my body repairing itself that really hurts. Which means that death would be painless. If I were to give up now, there'd be nothing to be afraid of. What a joke. What the hell am I thinking? There'd be nothing to be afraid of. As if I'd ever waver for a reason like that. I cut my way through a wave after wave of the oncoming dead. Now that I think about it, she's clearly toying with me again. If she just left it all to the dead self-preservation instincts, they'd have overwhelmed me long ago. The only reason I'm still alive is because she's manipulating all the dead herself. She's controlling each and every one of them manually from her vantage point, almost like she's playing with her food. This must be her way of trying to forget the shame of almost being killed. She's eagerly waiting for me to throw in the towel.
驚いた。それで50体目よしきくん。でもいい加減疲れたでしょ。自分から殺してくださいって思えてきたでしょ。そもそも何のために戦うの？もう牢に乗っ取られるって分かっているんでしょ。どのみちあなたは消えるんだから、もう楽になったら。
Shut up. I'm actually getting a kick out of the endless stream of the dead, but I can't stand listening to her voice. So yeah, I am getting pretty tired of this, but not in the way she thinks. If she wants to actually kill me, she's got to start taking things more seriously.
しつこい人ねえ、どうして死にたくないから戦うの？でもあなたはもうすぐ消えるじゃない。なのにどうして諦めないの？手触りにムカつくの見ていられないの？
Feelings
ほ
mutual,
ら、さっさと
bitch.
死ね虫けら。あの時の私みたいに何もかも投げ出せって言ってるの。
Sensing a projectile approaching from above, I leap backward. The skewer she just hurled at me in frustration embeds itself in the ground at my feet. The vampire stares down at it with a dazed look on her face, almost as if she'd just trampled all over her own pride. Even though I stand at death's door, I can't stop a chuckle from escaping my lips.
何がおかしいのよ。先に頭の方がいかれちゃった？諦めないのは脳が腐ってもうゾンビになってるからなわけ？
Even I'm not sure how much of my own sanity remains, but it seems my sense of pity is still hanging in there at least.
まったく言いたくはなかったけど、あんたの勘違いは耳障りだから教えてやるよ。俺は死にたくないからあがいてるんじゃない。シエル先輩がいるから立っているだけだ。あんたが何をしようが知ったことか。
なんですって？
I let out a deep sigh. If I say any more, it'll mean playtime's over. She'll be fully intent on utterly crushing me. But that's okay. No matter what she throws my way, I'll definitely overcome it. More importantly, if I don't say what I'm thinking now, I feel like I'll lose my motivation, mind.
俺が諦めないのは先輩を信じているからだ。もっと生きていたいからだ。っていうか、俺はこれからずっとシエルと楽しくやっていくんだから、こんなところで死ねるかバーカ。
That's right. I said it. Take that.
ああ、そういうこと。拷問って苦しめるだけが答えじゃないのね。命を奪うこと、未来を奪うことそのものが責め苦になるやつもいるわけ。
The dead stop moving. Rows upon rows of skewers fan out behind Noel. There are too many of them for me to even count.
いいわ。それならさっさと殺してあげる。あの女への見せしめに隙間なく埋まって死ね。
She strung her skewers together, creating one gigantic iron fence, then coiled it back on itself again and again until it completely blots out the sky. It's an indiscriminate carpet bombing that not even the dead will escape. The legs that leapt back from danger earlier now refuse to move. There wouldn't be any point. I can't avoid it, no matter what I do. And slice him through! Oh shit! That was a black key. However, the downpour of steel is deflected by a metal missile that comes flying in from the side. That was a black key, dude. Ciel's back in her game. Let's go. We've been waiting for this. The object now lodged in the ground is one of the black keys used to hunt vampires. There's no doubt about it. The vampire and I both look up. I in joy, and she in frustration. Retracing the path the black key took, I look to its source. There she stands, atop a partially destroyed pillar. Yes, sirski. Backlit by moonlight, she glares resolutely at the vampire. It's the figure of Ciel-senpai, who has emerged victorious from her nightmare through the strength of her own will. Hell yeah. I witnessed the hell of my ordinary life coming to an end. I witnessed the hell of parents killing their own children. I witnessed the hell of children killing their own parents. I witnessed the hell of every single one of them being slaughtered indiscriminately. There was nothing I could do to stop it. I witnessed the hell that I myself had caused. Even though I wanted to stop myself, I could not. Even though I wanted to close my eyes, I could not. Even though I wanted to shut my mouth, I could not. Even though I wanted to kill myself, I could not. I had been a sick and twisted machine. A wine press whose sole purpose was to collect blood. No, such a comparison would be unfair to machines. Machines would never exhibit such excess. Machines would never develop additional functionality just to hear people scream, just to see how they would react. I had long ceased to be human. I was a creature who didn't have the right to even pretend to be human. Regardless of whether the sin was mine to bear or not, as someone who made it possible, I should never have been born at all. That's what everyone said, and they were right. How could someone like me deserve to go on living? I had hoped that it would at least be over in a night. Yet daybreak never came. The ritual was close to succeeding. Arcueid had fallen into my clutches, and with a little more time, I would have been able to swallow her whole. And yet, an uninvited sixth person had appeared and easily tipped the scales. And then, I was killed. At long last, I was finally killed. If it was always going to happen, I wish it had happened sooner. The body that had once been mine was unceremoniously dumped on the street, just as I had discarded the corpses of the people I myself had killed. Having already departed from the world of the living, I had no means of knowing whatever happened after that. I had finally sunk into the deep, dark embrace of death. Yeah, I was relieved. I'd never wake up again. I wouldn't have to relive those memories night after night anymore. I wanted to just stay there in death's embrace forever. But even as I slept, I still couldn't forget. I had no right to ever forget what happened back then. That's why I fought. I wanted to do whatever I could to help people. I wouldn't rest for as long as I lived. I ended up convincing myself that even someone like me would eventually be able to achieve something. What a naive wish that was. All I did was hurt the people around me. All I did was taint her soul. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for thinking too highly of myself. I'm sorry for not dying. I'm sorry for not being able to fight anymore. These past 6 years were all for nothing. I ceased being my own person long ago. I'm nothing more than a collection of human flesh that just so happens to be alive. I should just keep on killing myself until that flesh no longer lives. That's clear to me now. I'm so sorry. I should have never dared to even think that someone like me could save anyone. A light? So then why? Why is there someone here, gently stroking my head with his warm hand? Oh, someone's still fighting out there. He's carrying me, someone so worthless, on his back. He hasn't given up on me, and keeps on calling my name. Ciel, Ciel, Ciel. With my chest pressed against his back, I can feel how cold his body has become. Please stop. Just leave me behind already. I can't believe there exists someone who would cherish me like this. I'm sure there used to be others who did too. But even so, I can't fight. I can't handle it anymore. I've wanted to be free of it for so long. It hurts. I've been bearing with the pain for so long. I've wanted to be free for so long. I was never strong. I was just too afraid to ever stop running. I was afraid that I could break down at any moment. And so, I won't fight anymore. After all, no matter how many vampires I defeat, no matter how many people I save, I will never be forgiven.
自分は許されないだって。そんなの当たり前だ。あなたは絶対に許されない。何よりあなた本人が自分を許すことを認めない。
His voice sounds so close. These are the heartfelt words left for me by someone who is no longer here. But he's right. I will never know forgiveness. I will never know atonement. I can't make amends for the sins I committed in the past. That's why I should just stay here and...
違いますよ。あなたが許さないと誓ったのは過去じゃなくて、この先の。
This image right here. Holy shit. Like, I feel like I've seen this image countless times, like with the many animes and video games I've experienced and stuff. Just as many media I've consumed. I've seen this exact image before, though I can't think of a specific example, but
何をしても結果は同じなら、何をしても失われたものは戻らないのなら、せめて一つでも多くの良いことをやって死なないと。
I sob, uncontrollably and immodestly. His stern reproach hits so close to home that my heart breaks under the weight of my own foolishness. I know that already. That's what I've lived for all this time. But do I even have the right to do that? Does someone who has taken as many lives as me even deserve to touch the lives of innocent people? I can't stop crying. I know that I'm weak and disgraceful. Everyone on Earth has the right to denounce me as the most loathsome being of all. And yet, there's still someone out there willing to embrace someone as loathsome as me.
あなたは言った。死なない体だから、体が強いから罪に耐えられた。自分と同じ体なら誰でも耐えられたと。でもそれは違う。絶対に違うんです。体が強いからじゃない。あなたは始まりから心が強かった。そういう強い心があったから罪を背負い続けられた。それは。
That's something I don't have. It's a ray of light that anyone would be proud of. No matter how heavy the sins you bear may be, if you uphold that virtuous heart, If you nurture it and never cast it aside, then your atonement could never have been meaningless. He said all of that while obscuring his own unbearable sadness. He had sounded as if he had given up on something that he had desperately wished for.
俺はどうしようもない人間で、実のところ感謝することはたくさんあったけど、楽しいと思える時はなかったんです。でもあなたがいてくれた。あなたがいてくれると嬉しい。あなたが笑ってくれると嬉しい。俺は先輩のために生きていきたいと思ったんです。あなたの道に付き添っていく。あなたが許される日は来ないと分かっていても、あなたが自らを許せる日が来ることを願って、ずっと一緒に歩いていく。だから厳しいけど、力尽きるまで戦うのをやめないで。
Dude. The feeling of his embrace fades. He gently pulls away from me. Even though he's in the midst of losing himself, he smiles bashfully, placing his faith in me as he rushes out into the battlefield. Ooh, the imagery of the two different sides of Ciel? Ooh, that's heavy.
あなたは自分を殺さなかった。自分の命可愛さにみんなを見殺しにした。この世で最もありきたりな利己主義という悪心、それが私たちの正体でしょう。
I dry my tears. Blood begins to course through my leaden, lifeless limbs. It hurts. It hurts so much. I've come back to life more times than I can count, but the pain is still just as unbearable as it was when I felt it for the first time. I really do nothing but apologize, don't I? I'm sorry, body of mine. I know I've messed everything up again, but I need you to stick with me.
私たちは元からそういう生き物だった。ロアという吸血鬼はケーキに過ぎない。私は優れた肉体を持って生まれてしまった。いずれ周囲との圧力は起こっていた。それがあのような形になっただけだ。私はどうあれ、きっと多くの罪を犯していた。多くの人間に石を投げられる運命だったのよ。
I blindly claw as hard as I can at the skin on my back. The darkness has wormed its way deep into my spine. This alone won't be enough to tear it free. But listen, can you hear it? Even now, I can hear those distant sounds. The sounds of someone who still believes in me, fighting for my sake. I would gladly tear my own flesh off, down to the very bone, if it meant that I could live up to the faith he has placed in me.
どうしてまだ希望を見るの？まだ罪を認めないの？私は絶対に救われない。代行者としてのあなたは犠牲者に過ぎない。私たちには救われる奇跡も生きている理由も愛される価値もない。そうでしょ、エレイシア。
Who the hell is Alacia? That's right. I don't deserve to be loved. But I just witnessed a miracle. Maybe Alicia is like the vampire? Well, no, it was Rella, wasn't it? Or maybe Alicia is the form she took when she was possessed by Rella. I don't know. But I witnessed a miracle mere moments ago. I witnessed the most precious thing of all. He is no one. Ever since he was a child, his life had been stolen from him over and over again. So much has been taken from him that he no longer has the ability to even notice what he has lost, or how he lost it. As someone who has lost so much, his overriding goal should have been to take back his own life, his own happiness. And yet, He told me that he wanted to live for my sake. Even though he possesses such strength of heart, he still chose someone like me. In which case, I have to prove that I deserve it. I realize now that doing so is the only thing that still gives me meaning.
そう。
I stretch out my hand, grasping for a way out of the darkness. Strength will return to my body. Even now my mind is still weak. I will continue harboring these doubts for the rest of my life. Yeah, but even so, I have to get up. My life isn't to be spent mourning the past, but to once again... No matter how many times I fall, as long as there's someone out there praying for me, I must always get back up and fight. There you go, Ciel.
この偽善者。
Get back in there.
吸血鬼になっても甘い狙いですね。あなたの本命は私でしょう、ノエル。
Ciel Senpai stands atop a pillar, her attention fixed on Noelle. As it should be, there's no need for her to look down in my direction. Senpai is in perfect condition. There isn't so much as a scratch on her. Now that I've satisfied myself of that, there's nothing more for me to say. My job here is done. From here on out, this fight is between Senpai and Noelle.
さっきまでメソメソ泣いていたくせに、戻ってきた途端に上から目線とか笑えるわ。何？もしかしていじめられるのが癖になっちゃった？もう一度私の目に見入られたいの？
It's not gonna work on her anymore, right?
そうですね。それがどんな仕組みの魔眼なのか興味はありますから、使っていただく分には益があります。でもやめておいた方がいいですよ。あなたの魔力量ではその魔眼は多用できない。もう一度使えばあなたは自壊します。何よりもう効きませんから。
Hell yeah.
それ魔力はより強い魔力に洗い流される。どこのそのレプリカかは知りませんが、分かっていればこの通りです。
An intense glow is emanating from the back of Ciel Senpai's right hand. I'm actually able to see the vortex of magical energy swirling in the space between them. No doubt thanks to the fact that I'm on the verge of turning into a vampire. Thorn-like curses sprout from Noelle's mystic eyes and attempt to entwine themselves around Senpai's body. But the moment those thorns touch her, they crumble into dust. The mass of the curse embedded in her right hand is enough to completely overwhelm Noelle's mystic eyes. I've seen that radiance before. It's the same one that shone at the heart of the curse within Vlav's chest.
ほんと、どこまでも偉そうな女。やだやだ、そんなに先輩面したいんですか、シエル先輩。これ見よがしに昔の勲章を見せびらかすとか、大公者としても吸血鬼としても上だって言いたいの？え？そんなこといちいち言わなくちゃ伝わらないレベルでしたか。いつもの辛辣さが戻ってきたじゃない。でも今さらやる気になっても手遅れだから。冷静になって下を見
Oh
下ろしたら。
god, get those fangs out of
四
here.
季君は私の指先一つで死者どもの食い物になる。もうあなたが何をやってもあの子は助けられない。それが嫌ならおとなしく私の魔眼に。失礼。そちらなら当然真っ先に終わらせました。
What's going on? Senpai flashes a glance in my direction. I can tell that she's trying to tell me something, but I have no idea what. All I can do is continue to keep a close eye on Senpai as she stands atop the pillar. Hold on. Those bright spots glimmering in the night sky aren't stars at all. They're rapidly growing in number, the mounting rumble in the distance making it clear there's way more than just 10 or 20 of them. There's no doubt about it. Those are Senpai's black keys. Both of them at the same time. That yelp of surprise must have been equal parts Noelle's and my own. Not even a trace remains of the death that had encircled me. The black keys that came raining down from the sky annihilated each and every one. With murderous eyes, Noelle takes a single look at where I'm standing, at the battlefield that had been wiped clean of her troops, and then quickly elects to disregard it. Even though I'm the one she should want to kill, she puts me out of sight and out of mind. And why wouldn't she? I'd have done the same if I were in her shoes. After all, she could no longer afford to make even the slightest mistake. With the difference in strength between them now painfully clear, Noelle's objective in this battle has shifted. For the next few minutes, that vampire will have to put her entire life on the line, not to kill, but just to survive.
私の今までの戦い、今までの贖罪は全て嘘だったと言いましたね、ノエル。言ったわ。何度だって言ってあげる。あなたは嘘つきで、本当のことなんて何一つなかったんだって。そうですね。私の心は嘘にまみれています。けれど消えないものもある。党の士気を助けたいという気持ちも、贖罪の名のもとに殺してきた犠牲者たちも、犯してしまった過去の罪も、私はそれを認めます。これから私が犯す命、私が残す憎しみを全て自分の罪だと認めます。あなたが私を殺すことを正当なものだと受け入れます。はあ？何を当たり前のことを言ってるのよ。認めたからなんだっていうの？そんなことで自分が正しいだなんて言い張るつもり？
A wall of iron spears forms behind Noelle. With the sharp tips all lined up facing their enemy, they almost look like a vampire's fangs.
いえ、善か悪かで言えば私は悪でしょう。ですが、悪だから良き生き方を望んではいけないかというのなら、それは間違いでした。だって人間の善悪と人生の善悪は悲しいほど違うものなんですから。私のせいだと復讐に走るあなたの言い分は間違いであり正しい。ロアの転生を止めるという私の使命感も間違いであり正しい。今私たちは同じ境界に立っている。
In other words, she's saying that they're both sinners, teetering atop the line that separates good from evil, and that under those circumstances, the two of them are equals.
なら、後の計りは力で示すしかない。互いが間違いであるのなら、それぞれの正しさは互いの強さでしか測れない。
And looking at looking what we have to deal with here, the answer seems pretty obvious. The seventh scripture activates. It's clear from the look in her eyes that she has nothing more to say.
何それ。結局、強い方が正しいっていうわけ。ああ、本当に信じられない。最後の最後までムカつく女。
She missed the point. Ciel Senpai isn't saying that the stronger of them is automatically in the right. She's saying that they now have no other option but to demonstrate their righteousness through strength. I know it's late, but I'm sorry for not apologizing to you before. That is what she is saying. Yet those feelings are never to reach the girl.
開き直りやがって。それが不公平なんだって何度も何度も言ってるじゃない。
Her Christmas bells are unleashed. The executor faces her attack head on. The girl couldn't forgive her, and neither could she save the girl. With no option left but to fight to the death, the two begin their battle in earnest. Noelle's volley of spears shoots toward her like a meteor storm. The hail of weapons would skewer even the most inhuman of monsters in the blink of an eye. There's still a healthy distance between them. When it comes to long-range combat, Noelle's superiority is unshakable. Or at least, it would be against a monster that's merely inhuman. All of the distance that had separated them disappears in an instant. All of the spears that had been fired weren't blocked so much as shattered. Before she even has time to react, Noelle has fallen within the range of certain death. Noelle forms a wall of spears to try and protect herself from the oncoming pile bunker, but it completely bulldozes her defenses and sends her flying backwards. This exchange has already played out 3 times by now. Noelle's well of magical energy is beginning to run dry. The juggernaut she's up against, on the other hand, has barely even scratched the surface of her magical energy reserves. Noelle tries her best to keep moving despite the fact that she's about to burst into tears from frustration. She knew this would happen. After all, her opponent isn't an inhuman monster. She's a monster, even among other monsters. A different beast entirely to the pathetic vampire wannabe she was fighting a moment ago. She knew from the start that if it came to a fight, there was no clear path toward victory, and yet... Each attack drives her farther and further into a corner. Each attack chips away more and more of her defenses. She can't withstand many more of these hits. She has to kill her right here. She has to kill her right now. She has to gather all of her remaining strength behind one last desperate attack. She exhausts every last drop of blood left in her body. With it, she unleashes all of the weapons she can muster. But all it does is reveal the hopelessness of her situation. The Executor isn't stopping. She's totally unscathed. There's no opening for her to mount a counterattack. No road that leads to victory. Nothing. Couldn't forgive the person who took everything away from me. The once human girl screams, her eyes bloodshot. Her opponent flatly brushes aside her pleas. She had sought revenge against Roa, and if that had been to lay the souls of the townspeople to rest, it would have been a just cause. But instead, Noelle had been driven by her own selfish lust. She had tortured dead apostles. She had exacted her own selfish punishments on their victims. She had slaughtered 50 people just for the pleasure of it. She had justified all manner of vile acts to fulfill her own goals. And so, her actions could never be considered just. All she has left is the spear in her hand. The vampire attacks, leveraging the halberd techniques she had cultivated while still human to throw all of her strength behind her strikes. Ironically, it's a dance to which they both already know all the steps. They've exchanged blows like this time and time again over the 5 years they trained together. Those memories, those experiences, incite a temporary struggle for supremacy.
崎ロアに食われる奴らなんて関係ないし気にもならない。私は私の町を食い物にしたあんたを殺したかっただけなんだ。
And that is the undeniable truth behind Noelle. She wasn't trying to prevent any more lives from being lost because of Roa, so much as clinging to the life she had already lost because of him. And this is where it has led her. She was warped by her own desires, and took countless lives with her own hands. In doing so, she became the same as the vampire that she so feared and despised. And now you're gonna pay the price for it. The blade of judgment rips through the vampire. She feebly crumples to the floor, a deep gash running all the way from her shoulder to her legs. She props herself up with a broken spear, preventing her upper body from tumbling face first onto the ground. The victor is clear. The executor coldly approaches the immobilized vampire.
吸血鬼になったことではなく、吸血鬼として行動したこと。死とノエル、弱き人々を守護する精霊と父の名において、あなたへの刑を代行します。死と。
At those words, her crumbling consciousness begins to stir. Not Executor Noelle, not even Sister Noelle. Dead Apostle Noelle. So that's what I'm called now, she thinks to herself as she watches her disintegrating body in shock. Yeah, cower in fear like the bitch you really are. She can't tell if it's sadness or disbelief she feels. Now that she's a dead apostle, she has no way of knowing. All she knows is a burning fury. Why did things turn out like this? We were getting along nicely too. Even though I resented her, things were going really well. I knew things might end up like this someday, but I didn't think it'd happen so soon. I always assumed it'd be after I was already too far gone. So then, why did it have to happen now? Right. It's obvious. I just couldn't hold myself back. To be honest, I never really planned on forgiving her. But even so, I decided that so long as she stayed the way she was, I wouldn't hate her either. But instead, she...
すっごいすっごい大成功。ノエルちゃんってばものすっごい。よーし、サービスでもう一本あげちゃいましょう。あ、でもこれはシャレだから追加で打つのはやめときなさいね。今ですら破裂寸前なんだもの。もう一つ上を目指すなんてほんと一瞬で溶けちゃうから。
A rock, a rock, a rock. Oh, she had that? On her? Whoa! The girl's body begins to transform. Within her, a star bursts to life, quickly exploding into a galaxy. Or at least, you'd be forgiven for thinking so if you were watching her transformation. Her body immediately begins to crumble, unable to contain the overflowing curse. But that doesn't mean it was all for nothing. She can fight now. With this, she finally stands a chance against her.
イデアブラッド、そんなものを打ち込むなんてノエル。うるさい、うるさい、うるさい。
Whoa, this music. 'This is kind of reminding me of that one scene in Cowboy Bebop of Spike falling down the church building, like after he fought Vicious for the first time, I think? Yeah. Especially with the music, Jesus Christ. Her frenzied attacks are the last flickering flames of a dying candle. The girl lashes out over and over again in a blind rage, each of her strikes on par with those of the executor. Jesus, just look at her. As her body continues to crumble, she delivers one last strike. A final thrust that pushes her to her absolute limits. Ciel brings the barrel of her palbunk around to face the focality that serves as the source of Noelle's existence, and cocks it. Noelle has put her entire soul behind that desperate thrust, and while Ciel feels a desire to just submit and take it head on, she instead takes aim at her enemy, along with those feelings of self-loathing, and blows them both apart. KO. The pile bunker punches straight through the girl's chest. With a clank, her iron spear falls to the ground. The girl's blood-stained hands grope at nothing. She reaches out toward the person in front of her, toward the person she never managed to reach. The voice that breaks the silence isn't that of a vampire, nor is it that of an executor. It's the voice of a girl from a time long since lost. Her torso has already vanished. Even as her body continues to disintegrate and her consciousness begins to dim, she finally gives voice to the last wishes she wasn't able to say 13 years ago. Fuck, dude. That is tragic, dude. I mean, as much as Noelle sucks, can you really blame her after all she went through? Even in the face of the quote-unquote monster that, destroyed her life, I think she just took things too far and fucking, turned into a monster that inevitably put her in the wrong, It's fucked up, but, circumstances, lead to such things, especially, in the face of that, the events that she went through, I feel like, just even though all she did was fucked up, I feel like, you can't really blame her, after the trauma she went through. Her family, her whole town fucking getting destroyed. So, yeah. She's still a villain, but, it's one of those villains that you really can't blame for what happened, Emotions just got the better of her, and, she turned into the very thing that she hated. Silence settled over the ruins once more. Senpai is motionless, her eyes fixed on the ground. She didn't end up pulling the trigger. Noelle's body crumpled into ashes and scattered on the wind before Ciel could even demonstrate the true power of her pile bunker. She doesn't let go of her weapon. She doesn't exhale to release the tension in her body. She doesn't even turn to face me as I quietly approach her. Instead, out of nowhere,
5年間はちょっと長かったですね。
That's all she says. She mutters it almost indifferently, as if it wasn't anything noteworthy.
先輩?
基本的に私たち代行者のチームというのは 1年も続かないんです。任務中にどちらかが死ぬか、生還しても引退させられるのが常ですから。だから代行者はこういうことに慣れているんです。どちらかが吸血鬼に落ちたら変わる前に殺してほしいとか、ほんとよくある約束で、任務前には冗談半分本音半分で言い合ったりするチームばっかりで。
先輩。
だから何でもないことで、特に悲しむことでもない。ノエルは吸血鬼になって人間社会にとって害悪になった。精神的な問題ではなく構造的な問題です。彼女はもう人間を殺さなければ生きていけない体になっていた。彼女は身体能力も精神強度も並だったから当然の結果とも言えます。むしろ5年もよく続けられたものです。
先輩。
あの子とは教会で再会しました。ちょっと驚きました。だって私より年上になってたんですよ。彼女はあれからずっと一人で6年も教会にとどまっていた。修道院に引き取られて5年かけてやっと代行者になった。でもお世辞にも優秀とは言えなくて、いつも死にそうな顔をしてすぐにリタイアしそうだった。その度に私に会いに来ては言いたい放題言って元気になるんです。呆れます。それから2年経って私たちはチームになりました。ちょっとした失敗で司祭様の不興を買った彼女が泣く泣く私を頼ってきたんです。自分を弟子にしてほしい、鋼鉄から守ってほしいって。彼女からすれば死ぬほど嫌な選択でしょうけど、生き残るにはそれしかなかった。私は埋葬機関にスカウトされた後だったので、それなりに権限がありましたから。足手まといになると分かっていたけど、彼女を弟子として迎え入れました。それからずっと任務以外では口を聞かない関係のまま5年間が過ぎました。
先輩。
正直肩の荷が下りました。あの子はとても生き残れなかったし、欲望を抑えるのが下手だった。こうなるのは目に見えていたんです。だから私と組まなければあの子はもっと早く代行者なんかやめられて。
いいんだ。謝っていいんだよ、先輩。
She gasps. I feel like I just saw her forlorn figure tremble slightly. But that's all. Face still downcast, she fights to suppress the emotions welling up inside of her.
ごめんなさい。あなたに何も返してあげられなかった。
Silently, without shedding a single tear, she continues to weep. Damn, man. Those two, they both have their fair share of,
先輩。
pasts and traumas and hardships. They're not too different, I guess. Once again, I call out to her from behind. I know I should have waited for her to turn to face me before I approached, but I just couldn't stand to see her looking so lonely.
そろそろ行こう。秋でも夜は冷えるんだし、そんな薄着じゃ風邪をひきません。
Aww. Mirroring, the parallels. Like, bro, that's delightful to see. Senpai nods, still staring at the ground. After taking a deep breath, she turns around with a forced smile on her face.
はい、ご迷惑をおかけしました。私はこの通り元気なので風邪なんてひきま。
Sneeze.
と 遠野くん、何ですか、その体。
Senpai rushes over to examine my left arm, a sudden look of panic on her face. Even the light touch of her fingers is enough to make me want to recoil in pain. I honestly completely forgot that my left hand is a wreck.
治療、すぐに治療します。でも首都化しているなら秘跡は逆効果だから、この場合はどうすれば。
Senpai is panicking about my arm. Thank goodness. I'm sure she's still going through a lot, but this is far better than having to see her forced smile.
いいですよ、無理に治さなくて。放っておく分には痛みはないし、栄養を取れば治ってくれそうです。
そうなんですか。じゃあ私からの魔力供給なんかよりご飯の方が効果的ですよね。
ええ、きっと。だから早く帰りましょう。先輩のアパートなら食べ物はあるでしょう。ほら、作り置きのカレーとか。
Leftover curry, of course. Judging by her reaction, my educated guess is spot on. I can't help but smile. It feels like things are finally back to the way they were. It's been a long night, both for me and for Senpai, but I get the sense that it's over at last. God damn it.
遠野くん、
Ugh, great timing with the headache, you tactless piece of shit. Or what? Feel like you've held yourself back long enough? As soon as the tension lifts and I start to relax, the headache that had been ravaging my brain comes roaring right back.
ごめん、先輩。俺、歩けそうになくて。情けないけど、先輩の部屋まで肩を貸して。
情けなくなんかないです。無理をせず頭痛に耐えることだけに集中してください。あとは私に任せて。
Senpai circles around to my right and lets me lean on his shoulder for support.
ごめんなさい。抱えてあげたいのは山々なんですけど、私も荷物があって。もうこんな時にセブンは起きもしないんですから。
Luggage. I guess she means that gun of hers. With her weapon slung over one shoulder and me on the other, Senpai begins to climb up the rubble. I'd love nothing more than to pass out right now, but I can't allow myself to fall asleep. If I did, there's no guarantee I'd ever wake up again. Not only that, but there's still something that I need to tell Senpai. Which is why I need to remain shiki, even if only until this night is finally over. And thus, the curtain falls on the battle over Rose Hosts. Arcueid, you were watching the whole thing! It's only an intermission, but at least Tonoshiku will not be overwritten by Rilla between now and tomorrow night. She had watched everything unfold. Oh, this is narrator voice, okay. She had watched everything unfold from her moonlit vantage point.
変な邪魔が入ったけど、結局あいつの一人勝ちか。ほんと、どこまでも目障りな女。いつも私の気を逆でるんだもの。邪魔者は大小様々だけど、間違いなく大きい方の邪魔者ね。
A smile blossoms across the avatar in White's face as she watches the two depart. Tonoshiki and the Executor. She looks upon both of them with a murderous yet loving smile.
Oh,
hey Mario. You were watching too?
さっきを抑えろよ、吸血鬼。その辺にしておかねえと、この辺りのカラスがストレスで全滅するぞ。
Shadows litter the rooftop overlooking the ruins. Only one is cast by the vampire standing confidently on the edge. Only one is the product of the blonde boy standing behind her. The rest belong instead to countless combat-ready executors. More continue to arrive by the second. Some join the ranks at the rear of the rooftop, while others take up formation atop the neighboring buildings. Their objective is so obvious it would be pointless for him to even try to deny it. They're positioned to surround and subdue the Vampiress in White that has popcorn crumbs on her face from watching the fight.
マリオ、 私一度忠告したわよね。
ああ、してやがったな。なんでこっちも本気でやる。俺も後がないんでな。使徒になっちまった部下を放置してでもこっちに戦力を集中させた。あれは俺の責任だ。悔やんでも悔やみきれねえ。せめてその代償にあんたにはここで一旦消えてもらう。
I wonder what your reaction was to seeing Noelle turn into a vampire. What the boy's saying is true. She's surrounded by over 30 executors, each of which is equipped with relics, conceptual weapons, specialized for use against true ancestors. He's prepared a force strong enough to take Arcueid down for the count. It may not be enough to win a decisive victory, but he's made sure that they'd at least have a way to kill her. If they were to fight right now, she and the executors would most likely wipe each other out, but Mario would still be left standing. Arcueid openly applauds his scheme.
お見事。昔からきちんと計算するのよね、あなたは。この町に来る前の私なら微笑みの一つでも送っていたかも。
やめてくれ、縁起が悪い。そもそもあんたが笑うことなんてなかっただろうが。ったく異常すぎるぜ今回のあんたは。大体なんでロアを殺しに行かなかった。あいつがロアの逃避先だって分かってたんだろ。
ダメよ、今だとシエルが邪魔するでしょ。あいつがいるうちは我慢しなくちゃ。私ことはできるだけ穏便におしとやかに済ませたいの。
You ladylike?
おしとやかってどういう意味だ。
人間らしいって意味。シエルと戦い出したら私楽しくなりすぎて町の人間をみんな殺してしまうと思うの。ほら、そうなったらシキに嫌われてしまうでしょ。
Her voice sounds almost velvety. She is not the Arcueid the boy once knew, nor is she the unbridled and impetuous Arcueid she'd been after being murdered. This is an entirely new side of the Avatar in white. Her smile is that of a ruthless goddess, the sort of femme fatale that would casually try and tempt her subjects to their destruction.
おい。
でもその前にこっちが先ね。あなたがいるとロアを生かそうとするし、何よりシエルの味方をされたら面倒だし。小さい方の邪魔者はここで蹴散らしておきましょうか。
An invisible flower blooms beneath the moonlight. At Mario's signal, the surrounding executors commence their attack. Their line of fire is centered on the vampire in white. Had she been the woman Mario thought her to be, that would have proven enough to kill her, but instead, her red eyes and smile are all it takes for it to be reduced to nothing. She crushes them delicately, meticulously working her way through them one by one. There's no bloodshed. The invisible pressure briefly stops the executors' hearts, rendering them unconscious without harming them. After incapacitating them all in the blink of an eye, the vampire turns on the boy.
ああ、でもあなたは別よ、ベスティーノ。指導者として少しは血を流しなさい。
Oh shit. The blonde boy's limbs are sliced off, sending him tumbling to the ground like a marionette whose strings have been cut. That's ironic, isn't it? His head slumps forward, burying his face in the ground.
そうなってやがる。吸血衝動で弱ってるんじゃねえのかってめえ。
もちろん乾いて乾いてどうかしそう。ドアに盗まれた私の一部を取り戻さないとこのまま壊れてしまうぐらいだから、一刻も早く四季を取り戻さなくっちゃ。
取り戻す。何立ち狂ってんだてめえ。あのガキの中にはロアがいる。あのガキだってお前の敵じゃねえか。
四季がロアであることに何か問題があるの？
Left at a loss for words, the boy finally comes to understand the source of his unease. A true ancestor exercising the full extent of their powers would be a threat, but they'd still be a known quantity. He's already dealt with the lower level true ancestor that lost to their vampiric urges and went berserk once before. But this is completely unprecedented. This true ancestor had suffered an unimaginable malfunction. And as if that wasn't bad enough, on top of being the worst possible vampire that could have lost control, she's also now lost it in the worst possible way.
これは運命なんだわ。必要なものと欲しいものが同じになるなんて、こんなに嬉しいことがあるなんて私は今まで知らなかった。
The intoxicated avatar in white looks up at the sky. She reaches out for the moon that shines overhead, as if to pluck it from the heavens.
ロアの逃げ先がシキでよかった。それって心身ともに彼は私のものってことでしょ。
Oh, you gonna be on your fucking Haruko from Fooly Cooly shit, aren't you? Her figure calls to mind that of a love-struck maiden, drunk on the taste of blood. Oh shit. New enemy unlocked. We've managed to make it to Senpai's apartment without anyone seeing us. Apparently she's using some sort of basic magecraft for warding off humans, so long as I stick close to her. I don't need to worry about being spotted. Vampires may defy common sense, but it seems like members of the church aren't far behind. We head up to Senpai's room. This makes the second time I've been inside. It's only been 10 days since I was last here, but it feels like it was forever ago.
どうぞ、狭苦しいところですが楽にしてください。
はい。ではお邪魔します。
Despite everything that's happened, I can't help but be self-conscious of the fact that I'm in Senpai's room so late at night.
頭痛はどうですか？ここなら少しは緩和されるはずなんですが。
My headache begins to fade the moment I set foot inside her room. It hasn't disappeared completely, but it's definitely bearable now.
すごい、めちゃくちゃ楽になった。さすが先輩、本当何でもできるんですね。
それは良かったです。私の知識もたまには人の役に立てるんですね。
Senpai wears a relieved smile, but there's clearly still a dark cloud hanging over her.
遠野くんはそこにいてください。ご飯温めてきます。
Even the way she heads toward the kitchen seems a bit dispirited. I hope she's back to her usual self soon. Wait, her usual self?
先輩、ちょっと待って。
はい？何かリクエストですか？ご飯を大盛りに？それともルーを2倍ですか？
I think the traditional feminine line in this situation is about what side dishes I'd like with my meal, but I'll let that slide. There's a more important issue that I need to address. Is it her clothes?
着替えないんですか？その服、なんていうか。
That outfit makes her seem like she's itching to kill someone. It's like the last thing I want to be looking at right now.
おかしいですか？
いえ、文句なしで似合ってます。そこは自信を持ってください。ただ、つい廃墟で追いかけられたことを思い出しそうになるというか。
Perhaps trauma is the word I'm looking for here.
そうですよね。失礼しました。ご飯の前に着替えるのが先ですよね。
Ciel Senpai hightails it to the bathroom. It seems she's understood what I was getting at. After finishing our charmingly unconventional meal, Senpai does what she can to tend to my left arm. It's only surface level treatment, a splint and some bandages, but it honestly makes a huge difference.
それで、先輩。
Sleepover?
これからどうすればいいのかな。
She'd mentioned that we might find a way to suppress Roa if we went to the church.
まずは遠野くんの中のロアを一時的に鎮静化させます。 この部屋は簡易的な聖域になっていますから、とりあえずここにこもっている限り危険はないはずです。
ですね。頭もヒリヒリするぐらいでめまいも起こらないし、高揚感に襲われることもないし。でもそれは一時的なもので万全ではない。
はい、あくまでロアを沈静化させているだけですから、根本的な解決にはなっていません。加えてロアの意識は日に日に増大していくものです。この部屋もいずれ意味をなさなくなる。ですからその前にロアを消し去る方法を見つけ出します。先ほども言いましたが、法王朝に戻れば何らかの手段があるはずなんです。だって13年前とは違う私というサンプルがあったのですから、彼らが天聖体とロアの魂を切り離す研究をしていないはずがない。
I could only imagine how well that would go.
じゃあ本当にうまくすればロアを切り離せる。
ですが、仮にその手段が確立されていたとしても、あ
Yeah.
なたを待っているのは地獄かもしれない。
And look at what they did to you, you know?
その術式が私一人で扱えるものならまだいいけれど、もし本国でなければ行えないものなら。
シエル先輩だけじゃなく、俺も教会に行かなくちゃいけないってことですね。
はい、彼らから見れば私もあなたも異端者です。人並みの扱いはされないでしょう。遠野くんの場合、目のことさえ黙っていれば普通の男の子ですから、私のように研究材料として扱われることはないでしょうけど。
それでもすごく痛い。
どうでしょう、痛みや耐性を測る手術ではありませんから、麻酔ぐらいは使うと思いますが。まあそのあたりは立ち会う人間の趣味ですね。異常性癖者でないことを祈ってください。
Proclivities. I take issue with her word choice, but do my best to bite my tongue. Every now and again, Senpai says something so ominous it would scare a crying child into behaving. Does she just not realize how it comes across?
問題は過程ではなく結果です。教会でも治療ができなかった場合、遠野くんは吸血種として扱われてしまうんです。そうなってしまったら、あなたは私と同じ扱いを受けることになる。死んだ方がマシな扱いをされてしまう。だから。
Which was why Senpai showed up at the ruins. She thought it would be better to put an end to me there before I turned into Roa. But things are different now. She wants to spare me from that torture, so she's conflicted about whether or not she should let me go to the church.
いいですよ先輩。それが一番確実ならどこにだって行きます。この部屋だってずっと安全なわけでもないんでしょう。どんな結果になっても先輩に文句は言わないし、誰にも文句は言わせません。
いえ、たとえ何を敵に回そうとも誰にも遠野くんを傷つけさせない。それだけは信じてください。
もちろん先輩が大好きですから、俺。
I wasn't really worried about that in the first place, but even if I was, Senpai's dependability would be enough to put my mind at ease. What I'd actually been worried about it was more down-to-earth problems, like travel expenses and passports. It's honestly pathetic.
どちらにせよ、遠野くんはしばらくここで待機です。その間、私はこの国の支部に出向して本国と渡りをつけます。なんとか1週間以内に話をつけますから、それまで一人で待っていてください。
ちょっと待って、先輩の部屋に一人で何日も泊まり込むんですか、俺。
ですね、遠野くんの命がかかっているんですから、それぐらい我慢してください。妹さんに連絡を入れるぐらいはいいですけど、あんまり事情は説明しないでくださいね。
いや、この部屋に不満があるんじゃなくて、むしろ逆なんですけど。 先輩がいいならいいです。
Alright, I got a handle on what I need to do. I just have to put my trust in Senpai and wait. If I don't lose to Roa before she's back, I'm in the clear. All that's left is... Right.
俺の話はこれで済みました。次は先輩の番です。
Yeah. I need to discuss something much more important than Roa with Senpai.
私の番ですか？
はい。何もかもうまくいって、何もかも終わった後の話です。ロアが消えて体が元に戻ってたら、先輩は俺と付き合ってください。もちろん恋人としてですよ。ちゃんと学校も卒業してくれないと嫌です。二人で青春を謳歌しましょう。
恋人って慎んで受けじゃなくて、なんか性格変わってませんか、遠野くん。すごく動物的のような。
もともとこういう性格です。
I mean, hey,
やりたいことは
when are you gonna get the chance to shoot your shot except now, right?
とにかく先輩は俺と一緒にいてください。今まで頑張ったんだから、ちょっとぐらい普通の生活をするべきなんです。それと死にたいと思うのもなしです。それだけは絶対になしですから。
I thought as much. Senpai's heart is still steeped in self-condemnation. If I can kill Roa and return my body to normal, I'll finally be able to die. She's made it through life by clinging to that one thread of hope. Without it, there's no way she'd have been able to go on fighting. But I don't want her to have to live like that anymore.
ダメですよ、そんなの。
The once joyful atmosphere evaporates as she replies. She sounds like she's on the verge of tears.
遠野くんの言いたいことはわかります。私も安易に死を望むことはもうありません。彼女を殺した以上、自分のために死ぬことはできません。でもそれと私の在り方は別問題です。私はロアとして多くの人間を殺しました。その罪の清算が残っています。たとえ不死身で亡くなっても、私は最後まで償わなければいけません。いえ、償いたいんです。
She isn't fighting because she wants to die. She's fighting to save the lives of as many people as she possibly can. Honestly, I'm amazed she has such a blind spot when it comes to herself. She's talking like she's just had some sort of incredible revelation, but I knew all this about her from the very beginning.
それはそれでいいと思いますよ。すごく。先輩は一生償えばいい。もう納得するまで償ってください。それと同時並行で自分の幸せを求めてください。だいたいブローブの時からそうだったし。先輩はブローブが憎いんじゃなくて、人間として当たり前の義務として戦っていた。そのあたりからして考えが真っ当なんです、あなたは。
She's not like me at all. Killing Vlav had been the only thing on my mind. Regardless of how much power she possesses, or how arduous the task before her was, she's always lived for the good of others.
でもそれは、私にはそれしかできないから。
何言ってるんですか。あれだけ学校で人気者だったくせに。戦うことしかできないなんて笑わせないでください。いいですか。先輩は普通の生活だってできるんです。でもそれだけじゃ物足りない。あなたは欲張りだから全部解決したがってるだけなんです。自分の過去も未来も半端にはできない。だからいっつも貧乏くじを引いていいように利用されるんですよ。
そんなことはありません。私そこまでお人よしではありませんから。
ならちょっとは悪いことをしましょう。 先輩には両立できるだけの素質も努力もあるんだから、続けたいんなら続ければいいんです。そうしていればいつか。
There will come a time when she is finally able to wish for her own happiness. She may never be able to forgive herself, but I'm sure that gratitude from the countless lives she saved will one day surpass the regret that still chains her down. It may take years, decades even, but if I can stay alive long enough to see it, and spend those years by her side, I can't imagine anything that would make me happier.
とにかく先輩が楽しくやっていける時だって来ると思います。それを自分から切り捨てるのはやめてください。
そうでしょうか。それは夜に虹がかかるような話だと思います。
夜に虹？
お父さんの口癖です。私たちの町の例え話。起きては欲しいけど起きるはずのない出来事をそう言っていたんです。虹は太陽の可視光が分かれて見えるものですから。昔の人はそんな仕組みは知らなかったでしょうけど。
In other words,
いえ、なんでもありません。ありがとう、遠野くん。あなたにそう言ってもらえるのは本当に嬉しいです。でも、やっぱりダメですよ。私はもう学生には戻れないし、遠野くんの恋人になんてなれません。私はあなたを騙して、助けを求めてきたあなたを殺すところでした。あれだけのことをして、今さら。
そんなこと気にしてたんですか、先輩は。
そんなことじゃないです。思い出すたびに死にたくなります。っていうか死にます。
She still ended up saving me, so I don't see why she's so hung up on it. A maiden's heart is a mysterious thing.
大丈夫、俺は気にしてませんから。先輩も気にしなくていいよ。ほら、好きな人に追いかけられるっていうのも貴重な経験だったしさ。
How sweet. Mysterious though a maiden's heart may be, I still try and comfort her as cheerfully as I can. Senpai has quieted down and seems to be on the verge of tears. On closer inspection, I notice that her ears are a bit red.
何より今夜の先輩かっこよかったし、いつもの制服も法衣姿もいいけど、ここぞという時に特別な服装で決めてくるとか反則です。あんなの誰だって惚れ直します。
Buttering her up, huh? She still doesn't say anything, but she does steal a glance in my direction.
あとは、そうだ、メガネをかけてないとイメージ変わるんですね。キリッとしてなんだか年上みたいに見えました。
みたいじゃなくて年上です。そりゃあの時から体は成長してませんけど。
何ですと？
Time out. Did she really just slip a bombshell like that into a casual conversation? I know I should just pretend I didn't hear anything, but silence is gold and I'm curious, but I'll just ignore it. Who cares about gold? Do we need to address this? I mean, I can't lie, curiosity is, kinda, welling up in me. I mean, I feel like it's kind of already been established, right? But, the further clarification would be nice. If she's comfortable with it, then sure, let's see. Who cares about gold? We need to address this. By that day, she means when she was killed by arcueid as road, right? So then, working backwards based on what I know, that means...
先輩、12歳の時からそんなスタイルなのか?
Surely not all half-Japanese people develop that fast.
人より早熟だ それに目覚めてから少しは成長しましたから、絶対。
I'm pretty sure Noelle Sensei said she hadn't grown at all over the last 5 years, but I doubt Senpai would be too happy if I kept pressing her on this. I think I'd better just drop the topic of her physical age here.
でもほら、くぐってきた修羅場が違いますもんね。先輩は吸血鬼退治のプロフェッショナルなわけだし。俺は吸血鬼になりかけなんだから、先輩が非常に徹したのは当然というか。
I'm stumped. Nothing I've said has managed to coax a response out of Senpai. I was trying to lighten the mood, but every topic I raised fell flat. I'm out of things to say at this point.
参りました。先輩、何か言ってください。それとも、俺なんかとは話したくない。
I hear her inhale sharply. It seems she's finally caved, even though Senpai still looks like she's about to cry.
バカ。
She quietly replies,
遠野くんはバカです。私は遠野くんが思っているような人間じゃないのに、どうしてそんなに私に優しくできるんですか？そんな資格、私にはありはしないのに。
資格なんて俺にだってなかったですよ。でも、そんなものは必要ないって笑い飛ばしてくれたのは先輩です。
In fact, it happened right here, in this very room. After I killed Arcueid, and all I could think about was taking my own knife, the one who saved me was none other than her.
そうでした。先輩、俺は先輩の罪なんて知りません。それは俺には関われないことです。俺は先輩が好きだから、先輩を愛しているからここにいるんです。あなたがどんな人間でも構わない。先輩とシエルとずっと一緒にいたいから、幸せになってほしいんです。
遠野くん、今。
なんで、もう先輩が何を言おうと騙されませんから。こうなったら地獄の底までついていって無理やり笑わせます。だからほら、先輩にとっては迷惑だろうけど、たちの悪い後輩に捕まったと思っていい加減降参してください。
I hold out my right hand and wait for Senpai's answer. I feel like if I don't make myself this clear, I won't get an honest answer.
しょうのない後輩ですね。聞いているこっちの方が恥ずかしくなるなんて想定外もいいところです。そんなことを言われたら完全降伏するしかないじゃないですか。
There you go. Senpai lays her hand on mine. We don't hold hands with one another. We simply savor the feeling of connectedness that stems from her fingers draped across mine.
先輩、それじゃあ。
はい、お言葉をお受けします。自信はありませんけど、遠野くんといるときは自分から諦めることはしないと誓います。これからは恋人同士なわけですし。
Stuttering, Senpai withdraws her hand, before quickly leaning close in to say,
でもこれだけは先輩として言わせてください。ですね、遠野くんの10倍、いえ100倍以上私の方が大好きですから、覚悟してくださいね。
You really do love to see it, don't you? She flashes me the most mischievous smile I've ever seen and pokes my chest with her finger. Finally, you're fucking happy for real for once. After all this time, all this pain you've dealt with, you're finally just, happy, with someone you actually love. She's back to normal at last. We finally stripped away all that stood between us. My heart feels light and carefree, just as I did during times we spent sipping tea in the club room. And that does make me happy. It really does, but I'm finding it a little hard to sit still when Ciel Senpai is right here in front of me. Not to mention that her room smells really nice. Is this going where I think it's going? Turning toward the source of the sound, I realize that it's coming from the clock on our wall. It looks like it's just struck midnight.
もうこんな時間だったんだ。
はい。夜明けまであとちょっとしかないですね。
Neither of us knows what to say to break the silence. Oh, come on. This isn't getting us anywhere. The night will be over if I keep dithering. I need to just come out with it. Alright. I'm going to say it. Here we go.
先輩、ベッドを使いましょう。
Yeah. The ticking of the clock is deafening. I'm so embarrassed that I can't even look her in the eye. But at the same time, the face she's making is so adorable that I can't look away. It seems like Senpai's feeling the same way, after we each spent a solid minute turning the other's words over in our heads. We both crack a smile. We're so happy about everything that we simply laugh.
じゃあ、今度は床に寝るのはなしで。ベッドは一つしかありませんから、一緒に寝るしかないですね。
なるほど。それでは私、先にシャワーを浴びてきます。
Flustered, Senpai rushes over to the bathroom. Seeing her act like this is so adorable that I can't help but smile. Even though I have the ticking time bomb of Ro inside of me, I don't even feel anxious right now. I'm honestly shocked at my ability to compartmentalize. Ro is just sitting inside his body with the fucking, like the most salty face in the world right now. Like, god damn it, these fucking kids. Still, I think I can afford to forget about him, at least for right now. The person I thought I had lost so many times has finally decided to stay by my side. As long as Ciel Senpai is with me. Earlier tonight, I embraced her in the ruins. Back then, I didn't embrace her out of love. I did it because she seemed so terribly sad. But now it's different. Now, all I feel is love. Even though I know we'll be separated once the morning comes, I love her so dearly that I never want to let her go. I only wish the best for them, man, especially Shiki. Hopefully they do find a way to get Ro out of his body and they can finally go back to living normal lives. It's just before 5 o'clock in the morning. The night passed in the blink of an eye. Senpai and I are both lying in bed, unable to sleep, staring up at the ceiling.
夜は絶対に眠っちゃいけません。逆に日中なら眠っていいですよ。ロアは吸血種ですから、朝になれば鎮静化します。
That's good to know. I haven't slept for 2 days straight, so I'm almost at my limit. That reminds me, we talked about something else too. We discussed the possibility in which I have to go to the church in person.
そもそも、どんなに手続きをして許可を取っても、吸血鬼なら門前払いを受けるんじゃないですか。
それは大丈夫です。遠野くんは血を吸ってもいなければ、人を殺してもいないでしょ。吸血鬼になりかけていても無実なんですから。裏口からならそろっと入れます。
I can't share in her confidence. There are a few days where I can't remember what I did at all. And one thing I can remember for certain is that I did something to Kohaku-san that can never be undone.
だから、記憶はないんでしょ？ならやっぱり潔白です。精神面での話ではなく、現実のお話として。
自分の記憶
Yes,
が
that
ない
makes
のに
sense.
何もしていないと断言できるんですか？
はい。実際に行為に及んでいる記憶がないのなら、 あなたは罪を犯していない。
Could the same be said for you then?
いいですか、遠野くん。転生体の意識とロアの意識は同じなんです。たとえロアの意識が上回って行動した時があっても、自分のしたことは必ず記憶しています。殺害の記憶がないというのは何よりも確かな無罪証明なんです。
I feel a wave of relief, as well as a newfound appreciation for Senpai's strength. You will definitely remember everything Roa did. She knows this because she herself had had to face each and every sin she committed as Roa. Yeah, that makes sense. Light is beginning to seep in through the curtains. It's almost time. I've just been listening to Senpai's voice for a while now. I feared that if I started talking to her, I'd end up trying to convince her to stay. So instead, I stayed silent, trying to at least fill my mind with the sound of her breathing and the soft touch of her skin as she lay alongside me. I hear the sound of clothes rustling. The sky outside is still dyed a deep indigo, but Senpai has already gotten up and is changing into her habit. I remain in bed, gazing up at her silhouette.
時間ですね。遠野くんをポケットにしまえたら一緒にいられるのに。
It's not like we can be together all the time. We've already spent most of our lives apart, and depending on how things go, we may be forced apart once again. If the church can't find a way to extricate Roa from my body, then we'll have to put an end to things ourselves. Senpai, before I cease to be Tono Shiki, I want you to...
死なせません。あなたは絶対に死なせない。ロアなんかに遠野くんは渡さない。私があなたを守ります。必ず救ってみせる。だからそんなこと言わないでください。
言ってないです。先輩の気のせいですから、それ。でも
I stop myself before I can say thank you. Yeah, I actually don't know what came over me there.
行ってきます。できるだけ早く戻ってきますから、それまでこの部屋から出ないでくださいね。
It seems like this place is stocked with enough food to last a week. Most of it appears to be microwavable servings of curry, but that's neither here nor there.
また言うまでもありませんが、私がいない間に浮気なんかしないでくださいね。私すごく嫉妬深いですから。
Senpai delivers those terrifying parting words with a smile on her face and leaves the apartment. I squint at the light peeking in through the window. The sun has risen. It's finally time for me to get some rest. I'll surrender myself to sleep and forget, if only for a little while, about all the troubles that have piled up on my chest. Finally, a good morning's rest, I guess. Man, what an eventful couple chapters this has been. Holy shit.